Hey, it's Hiron, and welcome to Voxlblade Weaponless, the series where I took this brand new account and throughout the course of a few weeks beat Voxlblade while never equipping my weapon. This video is an entire compilation of all the episodes combined with the introductions, you know what I'm doing right now, and the outros cut out, to make it a one singular long episode and to enhance the viewer experience. So join me on the journey of the Slayer of Voxels as we conquer this game with one of the hardest challenges I've done to date. Enjoy the ride.
Everything's so boring nowadays. All the games are just simulators and clickers. Wait, that outfit, the style. Oh god, please, not again. No, no more. Please.
So, just like my Balance Craft Wars series, we're going to be going straight into this with a game plan. Of course, when I first started, I didn't actually have a plan, I was just going in blind. But now that I've actually done everything already, I can say exactly what I did, call it a game plan, and get more views. So what is this game plan? Well, we're going to break it down into three parts. A, levels, B, damage, and C, literally everything else because I can't come up with something. So the first step, levels, is quite simple. Because we cannot deal damage ourselves, grinding bunnies and such is completely off the table. Well, at least for now. Instead, I will be completing every single non-combat quest I can to get as much XP as possible. My end goal in this leveling is to at some point collect a rune, which will lead us into our next step, damage. But before I start talking about damage, I'm going to talk about the quest that I was doing, because it's actually quite important, believe it or not. All the quests I was doing at this point were non-combat quests, as stated before. And what this means is I don't have to kill anything, so no slay 15 bunnies, no slaying planeswoos, none of that. Instead, there were things like delivering letters, running around, running around, running around, and running around. So after all this effort, it sure would be a huge shame if something like a softlock were to happen, right?
This is soft locked.
I'll be honest, this was one of two reasons why this video took so long to come out. I lost all hope after this, but I came back to the challenge unsatisfied with myself. I knew that it was my mistake that caused the run to fail, and so I wanted redemption. So here's the real start of the run. Alright. So let me explain the build here. First things first, we got the elf race. Now, you're probably asking, but Hiron, why not dragon blood? The dragon blood gets a rune for free! And to that I answer, oh man. As much as I'd absolutely love the Draconic guild and race and all that goodness, I just can't. Getting to level 25 with basically nothing sounds awful. So we're not doing that. Instead, we're going to heavily rely on our rune cooldown from elf and use things like Khaki, oh man, to summon tornadoes that do absolutely blistering damage known as like 10. Now the only problem is, how do you get this armor if you can't kill the boss? You can't do damage, you goober. Wrong. Shopping. As you saw in this picture earlier, I did have a Khaki crown at level 12. And I said no boosting, so how is this possible? Well, the snails man actually can sell it at a not cheap price. And I waited a couple of days, and by that I mean like 14 days straight, to get a Khaki King's crown. But that's for the future. Right now we're talking about the present, which was also a month ago. Ignore that. And the present currently requires me to get experience points. So here's me doing that. Gort. Pickles. Let's go. Progress. Progress. Now that I hit level 15, things were getting spicy. I can now get my guild, which would be the Scholar Guild, making this build even closer to finished, which is not close at all. And the first thing you gotta do is use a rune or weapon art 75 times. Also known as use your rune 75 times because I can't do the other one. And yeah, that's it. Next time you see me, I'll be dripped out of my mind with the coolest crown, pants, or shirt you've ever seen, and this run will actually start. If you guys want to see more of this series, please show your support by hitting the like button or subscribing, because boy am I excited to challenge myself even further than I already have. Let's see what happens. Fair warning though, this series will get a little spicy. It is a challenge run after all. My last series took me a couple of weeks, totaling just over a month to actually complete. This one is far worse, because in my last challenge, I could actually kill enemies. But in this one, let's just say every enemy is a raid boss. Alrighty, so it seems like our last project completely backfired, so any suggestions on what's next? I mean, you could delete your channel. What? No, I'm not deleting my channel because of one video. Any actual suggestions? Okay, I really need to hire some voice actors, but yeah, that's the right track, but I've been so burnt out on Voxlblade recently, I don't know what to do at this point. No, I'm not doing this. You were supposed to be dead. How do you keep coming back? Starting off, I want to call myself out for being an absolute idiot. I got so fed up with people telling me to run Monk Guild because Monk is fist and not a weapon, to the point that I completely ignored the guild until a fellow content creator named Anaquation told me about Khaki King gloves, and everything just kind of snapped in my head. I knew what I had to do. And so, the start of this episode was simple. Instead of waiting for Khaki King armor or Lord Dung to show up in the Snail's Man, I would instead use Monk. And so, I trekked my way to the Shrine of Regret, reset my guild, and started the next chapter of the series, Progression. So, now that I had access to the Fist of the Monk Guild, I had to make a decision. Because of my limited options with my low amount of SP, my choice mattered not just for right now, but for nearly the rest of the entire challenge. And as such, after putting in a good chunk of thought, my best plan of action for me was the Khaki gloves. These gloves have an incredibly important perk, Thorns. The Thorns perk gives you an incredibly small chance to bleed enemies that hit you. However, despite this small chance, now having a source of damage means this challenge is actually starting, for real this time, a month later. My first goal after getting a damage source was to go all in on Thorns. Now, if you've been a part of this channel for a bit, you may know of my Thorn maiden build. Because of my experience with Thorns already, I had a general idea of what my goal was for early game progression. I wanted to first hunt down Khakis, as their armor also has a built-in Thorns. And so, I beelined it for the desert with excitement. This excitement lasted for, I don't know, maybe 4 seconds, until the Khaki decided to ruin my entire life, kill my family, and smash my monitors into pieces. He walked backwards. Now, with a normal playthrough, you just chase the Khaki down and slaughter him. However, if your only damage type is Thorns, and things have to hit you, well, things get a little bit more difficult. Because of this issue, I needed a solution. At first, my plan was to get more physical boost, but after some really deep thoughts that I had for, like 2 or 3 seconds, I figured something out. Oh my god, Profane Mage. That's 200 Voxes apiece, and that's just bleed potency. Oh my god. That's right, thinking back to my Starlight build, I realized that the Profane Mage armor actually gives bleed potency from its Gorecast perk. So after selling everything in my inventory except for 2 runes, I ran all the way back to the Deadlands and made an incredible purchase. This was the correct step in the right direction, however there was one issue. I now needed perfect timing and luck to kill a Khaki. What an odd thing to say, by the way. Never thought the first hurdle of any challenge I would ever do would be to defeat one of the weakest enemies in the game. But you know, life has its ways. Anywho, after a few attempts, I got the pattern down, and things were looking very doable. Why? Oh, I got a pair! I got a pair! I got a mob drop! Oh my god! Move. 35? Holy shit! Yes! I got a pair though. Damn it! I got a hood! Yes. Oh, and I got a Khaki cloak. Yes. Yes. Did I see this wizard? That kills. Oh my god. And I leveled up so I can kill them even more. 6. Oh thank god. Okay. One more. Oh my god, yes. Now that I knew what I was going for, I decided to head over to the Void Rift. I was hunting for Gremlin Armor, as the perk slowly greatly increases the duration of your bleed, which would give me a lot more damage per singular bleed tick, which I would definitely need as my Khaki ticks were far in between. However, getting this is much easier said than done, so it would likely take me a few minutes. I got a chestplate! I got a chestplate! That's slow leak. Okay, that was a fluke. Surely the next few will take a long time, like my Khaki armor pieces, right? Right? That's huge. That's so huge. That's so huge. So I can do this. I can do this. I can get damn close. Since I now had an incredible amount of bleed, peaking at nearly 60 damage per bleed application, I started my next task, farming Dragagators. See, Dragagators have a very important drop for this run, the Fireball rune. Because I can cast runes without my weapon being equipped, this will be one of my only ways of actually dealing damage without thorns. And so, with new ambitions in my heart, I started the hunt. One more bleed tick and he's gone. Yes! Now, I'm not gonna get it first try, yeah, but proof that I can kill one. I'll be honest, this hunt is still in progress, but it's taking a while to get specific drops, so I'm gonna section these episodes into smaller videos than I initially thought. Either way, Lord Dung Armor appeared in the Snail's Man as I was recording, which, keep in mind, I waited over a month for it to show up, and it appeared after I no longer needed it. However, I still bought it, and I even used it to kill a Lily Monster. Killing this Lily Monster did take 29 minutes, so that was fun. And I did it twice, so that was fun. Ow. What do you want from me, you freak? No, 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 you better come back here! Of course. And now I'm trapped here, my scythe is inches away, but there's no way I can grab it. Well, while I have this newfound time on my hands, I guess I'll have to figure something out to keep me entertained. My options are quite limited with my hands bound. You know, right about now, talking out loud to myself doesn't sound too bad, I guess. Starting off, I want to quickly showcase my slow and painful grind. This grind took what felt like forever, ultimately giving me the next stage of progression. The first thing I went for was the Fireball rune, which ended up costing me 13 hours of my life. So here's a summary. Oh, yes! Holy shit! Oh my god, I got this and I clipped it. I didn't have OBS open. I have it now. Bam. We are progressed. I don't have words right now for the mental flashbang that was, but we are so back. Now that I had the Fireball rune, I felt very confident in my ability to defeat the enemies of the Floral Void Rift. Completing this rift would unlock the Recall cantrip and make my life 10,000 times easier. While I'm defeating the Void Rift though, I'd like to spend this time to answer some very frequently asked questions and statements publicly to help with any of the confusion about this series. First off, this series is 100% solo. I'm only playing in a private server and will only do content alone. That's the bottom line, and it will never change. Secondly, because this series is solo only, I will not be getting boosts from other players or carried in any boss fights or world events, which almost entirely cuts out the option of the Sanguine Bolt rune, which I know a lot of you were asking me about. Third, I cannot equip my blade at any point, which means no blocking, weapon arts, or anything of the sorts that would require the weapon to be equipped. And fourth, my font is the Andy Bold font, also known as the Terraria font. There are many tutorials on how to do this online, and I personally use Blockstrap for it, so, you know, if you want to do that, yeah. If you yourself have any questions about the series, you are always welcome to leave it down in the comments section, as I check them constantly, and I will always try to get to answering it whenever I can. With that out of the way, though, the Void Rift was a cakewalk, and after cheesing it with the fireballs, I eventually got through the waves and finished the quest. After my success with the first rift, I got a little cocky and decided to go over to the swamp and attempt the second rift. And I say attempt because there was one little problem with my plan that I didn't account for. My damage wasn't high enough, nor even close to finishing the rift on time. And, you know, time is quite important when everything explodes. when the timer runs out. And so, my next goal was set. I had to make my fireballs as strong and frequent as possible to maximize my DPS at all costs. To achieve this, I first ran to the volcano to pick up the Good Guy armor set, which I would both use for vanity and to fill in the pant slot I was currently missing. Good Guy gives fire boost, but does not give burn potency, which means my damage isn't as high as it could be, and I'd have to find a replacement soon enough. But on my way back to spawn, I was rudely interrupted by an Iron Slayer, so I quickly disposed of him. The next gear piece I was looking for was the caster ring for rune cooldowns. To obtain this, I was going to finish the Slay 3 Mageling quest I got at the very start of the series to avoid crafting the ring and wasting the mage core that I would need later on. Thankfully, after my miserable grind in the swamp, this was a nice and refreshing farm. The last Mageling also dropped me some Mageling pants, so I decided to craft that into Ember Mage pants to solve my previous dilemma of Good Guy not having burn potency. Later down the line, I will have to hunt down more Dragon Gators, but after spending so much time in the swamp, I didn't want to go back for as long as I could. My damage wasn't amazing, but it was on demand and on a short cooldown, which is exactly what I was looking for. And so after I obtained this newfound power, I decided to start going for enchants and the likes. Thankfully, nothing crazy happened during this farming session that would completely scramble my mind and make my life 100 times easier. I mean, that'd be crazy, wouldn't it? I got a mysterious crown from a magical bunny. Are you kidding me?
Oh, wait, that's you.
That's right. While in the Voxlblade Discord VC, I dropped a mysterious crown from a magical dire bunny. I was just mindlessly going for enchants to make my fire damage higher, and instead I got paid dividends. Along with that, I waited for a void moon to try and get some binded corruptions for infusing, which I will have to do soon if I want to deal some real DPS. I only got 1 from 2 void moons. With looters, so that's pretty fun. I love video games.
So it's only worth like, I want to say 4.
And of course, I had to get that mage core as mentioned earlier. I got it. I got the mage core.
Anyway.
Deep in the floral fields lies a towering hive that holds an immense amount of Bumbles. But those who decided to take a closer look fell upon a terrible fate. Standing at a height much greater than any threat the fields had to offer previously was a monarch ever so powerful. Her commanding presence shook even the toughest of warriors to their core. However, if it bleeds, it can die. I'm not backing down. No, not yet. Not ever. I embrace this challenge. I will come out triumphant.
Okay, that's cool and all, but can you buy something, please?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I just got excited. Yeesh. That guy was kind of rude, honestly.
Hey, I can still hear you.
Regicide, the purposeful killing of a monarch or sovereign. I'm sure if things were different, my head would be put on a stake for even considering such. However, this is Queen Bumbles we're talking about. I'm not entirely sure they know how to make stakes. Today's goal was simple. I was going to take down the Bumbles hive no matter how long it took, and so I readied myself for the worst and traveled on over to the hive. The Bumbles hive consists of 4 different floors. 3 of these floors are randomly generated mazes of doors and mobs, and the other holds Queen Bumbles. Other than that, you must break a door to continue, which requires 2 to 3 hits to destroy. With this knowledge, let's take a look on how I conquered this behemoth of a hive. Upon loading in, I tried putting together a game plan like I always do. I knew how I wanted to conquer the queen, so I'll cover that right before the fight. So for now, I needed to figure out how to clear the rooms. My plan was to try and cut down the amount of time spent breaking doors. Usually you would swing your weapon and break the door without a second thought. However, because of my issue, breaking the doors turned into a patience game. In hindsight, I probably could have used Lord Dung to break the doors quicker, but it's fine. Through the whole run, instead of using my main gear, I was running bunny armor for the speed boost. Because killing things quickly isn't important in this case, this was the most optimal way of doing things. For instance, bombers are normally incredibly quick and require you to block to not be nuked for your entire HP bar. But in my case, I had to instead use the move speed to juke out the slippery movements of the bombers to avoid being decimated. For future reference for yourself as well, if you're ever fighting bombers, it's always smart to try and avoid them and then juke them back by jumping over them. You'll get the timing. Drones and Bumbles were not nearly as problematic, and the surplus of healing fountains made things very easy for me to survive. Finding the exits was my next brand new issue, as like stated previously, doors take a whole 3 hits to destroy, making finding the exits take 3 times as long, and for me, probably about 18 times as long. To circumvent this, I roll-clipped through the doors to find the exit, and with that knowledge of where the exit was, roll-clipped back to where I was and remembered the most direct path to the exit. Sounds convoluted, it's not. Basically like leaving myself some breadcrumbs. This is also very time consuming, but with the later floors, I found a much better and safer method. Once I completed the first floor, I realized that the exit hole actually clips through the floor of the dungeon. And because of this, you can shift lock your camera through the wall and actually see the exit if it is close. With this new idea at the ready, the maze part of the dungeon was as good as done. All that was left was actually clearing it. Also, the entire 40 minutes of recording I have for this B fight has literally 0 audio, so I do apologize about that. And for reference, about 50% of these 40 minutes is just me breaking doors with Fireball, so bear with me. Anyways, after clearing the maze part of the dungeon very, very slowly, I was ready for the final duel. Queen Bumbles. Now, Queen Bumbles has 4 attacks. She can fire out a projectile, causing your move speed to be decreased with the sticky debuff, a point-blank large AoE kick that she only uses if you are within general melee range, which, for me, she won't be doing that. She can erupt, dealing a massive explosion that will deal a lot of damage if you did not break line of sight, and her summon phase, where she will lift into the air and summon Bumbles while attacking from above. Each one of these moves have their own little counters, but the primary focus of this fight is dodging, as Bomber Bees can be summoned from her summon phase, as well as her attacks having a large amount of projectile speed, meaning I'll have to be moving constantly. I will not be going close enough for her to use her kick move, and the eruption can be avoided by going behind anything solid. And so, the plan of this fight was very simple. I would just have to constantly kite the enemies and chuck fireballs between attacks with reasonable safety. However, I have an infinite amount of time on my hands, but not infinite HP. And so, being careful was the name of the game. Also, I do want to note that somehow I completely forgot about the arena having healing fountains, and so I just didn't use them throughout the whole fight. I don't know how I managed to forget about them, as they would have been a major help to my survival, but it's fine, it's whatever. I don't mind. How am I this dumb? The Queen Bee fight took me a total of about 18 minutes, which might just be world record pace, I don't even know. A lot of my strategy throughout the whole fight was to kite around the summons and bait out bomber explosions while dealing with the drones occasionally. I was one-shotting the drone summons, meaning if I grouped them up, I could land a fireball and wipe out the entire wave. I had some very close calls early on, to the point I had to save spot and heal, but other than that, it was quite the smooth fight, and the only real difficulty was the fact that the fight time was, well, let's say, incredibly long, turning it from just a normal fight into a goddamn endurance test. Messing up one single time could mean life or death, so I was locked in the entire fight. Overall, this will hopefully be the longest fight in the series, as the other bosses will put me through absolute hell if they take this long as well. But as the series progresses, so will I. I plan to grow stronger, and hopefully I'll be able to take down anything this game has to offer. Hopefully. Anyways, while the fight plays in the background, I want to quickly thank all of you. We recently hit 1,000 subs on this channel, which is a milestone that is still just absolutely wild to me. I genuinely couldn't find the words writing the script on how to express how much I appreciate you all. I'm trying to figure out what to do for 1,000 subs, so if you got to this point in the video and you want to give me your 2 cents, let me know what you think I should do down in the comments. I read them constantly, and I know for sure that I will see yours. So with the Monarch of the Floral Fields down, I had my eye set on the next target. Though, after the experience of the last fight, I knew I had to change things up a bit. It's time to improve. It's time to let the flames engulf everything. I must let this inferno rage across this land. Conquering these pathetic flowers isn't enough for me. I need more. I need strength. Let the flames light flicker in my eyes. This is just the start of something great. My ancestor, he smiles upon me. His unbound power will soon become— Stop. This hellish curse, it's not worth it. You can be a trailblazer of the new path, but don't bind yourself in such a devilish contract. Be free from these binds. Your strength lies in something far greater than myself. After the completion of the Bumbles hive under my belt, I realized that my DPS was mid as hell. Mageling gloves just would not cut it, and neither would my gear. So I spent literal hours of my life farming bunnies to get my crafting level up for SP, as well as crafting binding orbs for my infusions. What I would pick for my infusions was a difficult choice, as I wanted as much damage as possible, but I was also incredibly poor. Eventually, I decided that infusing my Ember Mage armor would be the right choice, as I had already had 2/3 of the pieces just lying around in my inventory, as well as its perk being useful for my future plans. Now that I had my infusions in place and I had obtained the SP necessary for success, I swapped out my Mageling gloves for Dragator gloves and felt way more powerful than ever. I wanted to try this out on the Swamp Void Rift that I left behind so long ago. Of course, I assumed I was going to be victorious, as my previous attempts a while back had some promise. However, I was gravely mistaken. After the third attempt, I was realizing that this task was much larger than I thought, and after my fifth attempt, it was looking even worse than before, but why? Well, let's take a look at DOT damage numbers and their major inconsistencies. What I like to call the really annoying number deviation of Marinara? This extra random tick gave me more damage, yes, but it was also why some of my runs were feeling much better than previous runs, despite the fact that my gear and strategies had barely changed. Because of this knowledge, my next plan of action was to snag up some Curse Flame gear. The hardest part of the Void Rifts were the god-awful Dragagators that I have no previous hatred towards at all. Literally zero. The reason behind this is the massive amount of fire defense that Dragagators have. 300% defense is nothing to scoff at, and so the hex damage that the Curse Flame armor gives me, while ultimately decreasing the damage I deal per fireball, massively increases my chances of beating the final Dragagator in the Void Rifts. Last thing I wanted to do was that last infusion. As stated previously, I only had 2 of the 3 Ember Mage pieces that I needed for my infusions, and because I didn't have that last one, I decided to infuse a Dragagator chestplate. Another fun fact while we're here is the fact that out of now 4 Void Moons that I've gotten during the slot's lifespan, I've only gotten 2 Binded Corruptions from them. The other 2 were obtained from just random corrupt mobs in the forest. I also didn't cover this, but I accidentally infused Civilian chestplate, so I had to get another Binded, which is why I'm saying 4 instead of 3. But we can ignore that. Now that I was more ready than ever, I readied myself one last time and started the rift. So we're gonna see if I can do this now. This will be a major test if I can reliably one-tap Grimomancers. Yep, there we go. Damn, I get Dragagator Essence so fast. Or not Essence, Spirit. Okay, so that's the duality of my damage, with a tick happening early and late. Still having to 2-shot Toad Zerkers. I feel like optimally, my fireballs would have to be one-tapping. Okay, here we go. Let's slide forward and beam. First fireball. Can't tell if that's promising. It's gonna be like 6 or so. It's gonna hit me. Fuck. Okay, we're good. Barely no knockback. Let's see if I can. Okay, well, no, we're good. Okay. Okay, that's suboptimal. I mean, the damage I'm taking doesn't entirely matter. As long as I'm hitting these. 30 seconds. 30 seconds almost dead. Hold on. Normally I get there at like 20. Those in. Kick. I guess tail whip. 18 seconds and I've got probably one more fireball left. Please, I'm begging. Oh my god, please count. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my goodness gracious. Pip. Pip, it's you, my friend. I've done it. Oh. So yeah, now that I was able to do this, I was confident in my abilities, and I decided that I was ready for the next real challenge of this run. The Lord Frog Dungeon. I can't believe I'm actually doing this to myself. God, I hate this damned swamp. I really hate this swamp. I just want to go home. What? Danger ahead, huh? Well, too bad this sign can't stop me, for I cannot read. I really gotta start taking some classes. Alrighty. Well, behind this gate is my next target. Rolling over this god-awful swamp. What an absolute waste of time. This place reeks. I could have just left and nobody would have even known I came here. You know what? Scratch that. The stain on my reputation that would make if I just walked home. Oh, shut your mouth and get down here. So, now that we arrived at the Lord Frog Cavern, things are getting interesting. My gear at this point is as follows. Burning Dragator Helmet with 2x Curse Flame Armor, a Caster Ring, and a Fireball Rune. I've infused 2x Mage Armor as well as a Dragator piece. With all this gear at hand, it's time to take down this place once and for all. The Lord Frog Cavern consists of 20 waves, each supposedly, getting more and more difficult than the last, with the 20th being the boss wave. So, here's how the dungeon run went. So, first off, as always, Wave 1, which is just 3 bullfrogs. Not much to say here, it's just a handful of frogs, and frogs are not immune to fire. Next up we got Wave 2, 3 bullfrogs, and 1 toadzerker this time. The frogs are back, but they brought their big brother. Yet again, still not immune to fire. Wave 3 we got 3 toadzerkers. This is usually the one that murders new players who don't know how to deal with mobs yet, so still really easy. Moving on to Wave 4, you may notice that the scaling speed is a little bit slower when you're not running the corrupted version. I was feeling very confident after realizing this. Wave 5 is where Croakernauts start arriving. This is where things get fun, as Croakernauts give all nearby enemies the Reinforce effect, which causes them to take 50% less damage. However, this still does not make them fireproof. Wave 6 is just bullfrogs, but more. It's a whopping 2 handfuls of frogs. That's a decent amount of frogs. Wave 7, you may realize, is Wave 5, but with less mobs and easier, so that's fun. Hopefully this isn't a recurring issue. Wave 8 is just like Wave 7, but now there's a bullfrog and 1 more toadzerker. Truly the most difficult wave, trust me guys. Wave 9 is just 3 Croakernauts. They're not all that dangerous by themselves, so having 3 times that is just very silly. Oh my god, is it time consuming though, the Reinforce is so annoying. Wave 10 is the first Dragator we see of this run, and oh my god, if I see another Dragator, I might just scream. This is the halfway mark of the dungeon, so it's fitting that the difficulty starts to actually get difficult, you know, like the name implies. We'll be seeing much more Dragagators down the line. From this point on, I'm also not going to cut Dragator fights, just so you can see how I handled them, since Dragagators are probably the only difficult part of this dungeon other than Lord Frog. So just bear that in mind, I guess. Wave 11 is just Wave 9, but they actually have damage dealers this time. Toadzerkers. Still just time consuming. Wave 12 is where the difficulty actually feels like it goes up, as a normal build soloing this wave is a little bit annoying, as the bullfrogs combined with Croakernauts make an actual devastating combo. And of course Wave 13 is just a Dragator again, but with backup dancers this time. It's practically just Wave 10, but with a little bit more running around and kiting. If you guys are curious, I'll go into a little bit more detail on how I actually avoid Dragagators in the coming waves. But as of right now, you can kind of see I just kind of keep my distance and use my fireballs with 1 Dragagator, as you just kite their beam over and over. Being ranged in Voxlblade is the easiest cakewalk anyone could ask for. Wave 14 is just Croakernauts, but more Croakernauts. Yippee! This is truly the Voxlblade of all time. I love doing Frog Dungeon. Croakernauts are so much fun. They totally don't just take up time. Oh my god. But yeah, as usual, just kite them, throw a fireball, yada yada, you know the deal. Wave 15. This is where the waves actually get interesting. Too bad it's 3/4 into the dungeon. Infinite Frog win. Anywho, this is where 2 Dragagators start spawning, which is where I have to kind of actually think about what I'm doing instead of just throwing fireball and walking to the left or right. When dealing with 2 Dragagators on literally any build, try to isolate their attacks so that they have an opening in between each other. Like in my case, I tried to get the fireballs in between the attacks where there was the largest opening, since they will always attack in the same pattern unless they start meleeing, as their melee tail swipes actually throw off the timing since it's faster than the beam. But that's nerd talk, who cares? When I said that Croakernauts took a long time, I was kind of exaggerating. Dragagators are the real problem here. These little bastards decide to take all of my life away because of their fire defense, meaning that basically all of my damage is the hex damage from the curse flames, which, as we saw in the last episode, is actually my lowest source of damage out of the 3 sources. Wave 16 is 2 Dragagators yet again, but now we've got some fighting force to add pressure. These Toadzerkers and Croakernauts don't cause me much of an issue, but if I put too much focus into them, I could be caught off guard and absolutely beamed by a Dragagator. And so I put all of my focus into trying to keep myself moving side to side while also taking out the mobs, just in case the Dragator spawned while I was standing still, because that would be very scary. A lot of this is just focusing, which is why during these waves, I'm zoomed out as much as possible, my camera's up a bit, and I'm trying to keep myself looking towards the 2 possible Dragator spawn points. Because if you didn't know, they actually will never spawn on the gate side. They will only ever spawn on the 3 towards Lord Frog himself. Also during these waves, I tried to take out the little lurkers first, the Croconauts and Toadlurkers, before I try to get my main damage on the Dragators, primarily because if I'm in the middle of my fireball throwing and one of them sneaks up on me, not really much I can do, so I honestly consider them more of a threat than the Dragators when it comes down to the group as a whole. Alright, now we've made it to Wave 17, where we get to experience 3 Dragators basically at the same time. This wave is rough only because they stack up, so I'm trying to take one out at a time as fast as possible, but once they group up, I kind of try to sync their moves so I can group them together, and just keep on kiting on the outer circle so it's only ever beam attacks. And I get close sometimes, but only if I deem that it's safe. For anyone who wants to learn how to fight a Dragator, if you are pure melee and you've got no other ranged alternatives, I'd recommend getting your hits in, waiting for the tail swing, and then if you are really fast, you can run away from it, so you can avoid the tail swing entirely and take 0 damage. You can hold F to block, believe it or not, and mitigate a lot of it, but if you're running like a true damage strong daily, that's not really an option if you have no self-sustain. And the third option is you can dive straight through the Dragator while they're swinging and get behind them, which is really risky by the way, but has great payout because you're still next to them. You can dive through and then immediately keep your damage going, and overall lets you stay in the fight. If you have self-sustain from your melee attacks, this is a great option because you're constantly keeping yourself alive and running. Wave 18 in the corrupted version of this dungeon is usually the most difficult wave, as with the doubles enemy modifier especially, the mob count can reach up to 100 mobs in just one wave. However, this is 1x classic and no dailies, no double enemies, so it's not much of a problem. This is more of a palate cleanser, getting me ready, letting me kind of focus up, because I'm going to definitely need to focus up when it comes down to the wave 20. Anywho, I deal with the Dragator just like usual, dodgy, keep away. It's nothing crazy, but once you see Wave 19, you're going to wonder if this challenge was even possible in the first place. Yeah, Wave 19 is just one singular bunny. It's not that difficult. But here's where the fun begins. Lord Frog. Wave 20 is the Lord Frog, the final wave. Also the only wave in this entire run where I took damage. This is because of the weird video game bug called Major Skill Issue, where I decided to jump way too late and I got hit by the first slam and his first jump. Thankfully, this was the only time I took damage, so it's fine. So just like Queen Bee, let's go over the attacks before I show you the whole fight. Lord Frog is much more simple than the Queen Bee, as none of his attacks are necessarily ranged attacks. He's got a forward, locked-in-place, guard-breaking slam that does major damage, a side swipe which is blockable but tracks your direction, so you have to either run backwards or block it, and a jump slam that hits a massive area around him, covering just nearly 3/4 of the arena, which you can avoid by jumping or blocking. So let's see how I solve this fight, nearly never taking damage the whole run. And that's the Lord down. Here we see the bunny in its natural habitat. Bunnies are a nearly harmless fauna in the frontier village and only fight back in self-defense. Because of this, they are often seen as— Oh my god, no! What happened? Though they usually live in a hole hidden in the chilly approach where their grand prince rests. The reach of his territory and the power he holds over it is unknown. We can only assume it's just the interior of the hair layer. He can be found sleeping in the center of his domain, unbothered by his surroundings. Though, anyone who decides to awaken the prince with its crown is met with a savage new enemy. With the completion of the Lord Frog Caverns now under my belt, I only have the Bunny Prince, Khaki King, and the Bastion left to go. And also maybe Stratos, depending on how things ultimately go, we'll see. However, the only one I could currently do was the Bunny Prince, as I had the crown from so very long ago. Do you remember this moment? Thankfully nothing crazy happened during this farming session that would completely scramble my mind and make my life 100 times easier. I mean, that'd be crazy, wouldn't it? I got a mysterious crown from a magical bunny, are you kidding me? Well, this is where it finally comes into play. So, because I had this crown, I could now summon the ever-restful Bunny Prince. So let's see how this fight can be, I was gonna say conquered, but I feel like that would be just so incredibly false. And so, thus began the worst boss fight this slot has yet to face. You never realize how much you block in this game until you press F on instinct and literally nothing happens. Before I showcase the Bunny Prince fight, let me just do the, certified higher end classic and explain every single move the Bunny Prince has. He's got like 400 bajillion moves. He's got a quick stomp into a cannon shot that he can use about 1 to 3 times. These cannon shots hit the ground near you and detonate for massive damage, along with the stomp also dealing damage, but it's much shorter range. He has a mortar summoning attack that explodes around the arena and summons bunny-type enemies to attack you. Much like summons from Khaki King and non-trusty servant player summons, these bunny mobs have decaying HP, so they don't stick around forever. In his second phase at 50% health, he will charge up a massive attack known as
Legalize nuclear bombs.
Swag Messiah.
And he has one more move that haunts me in my sleep night after night. The jump into a massive, nearly arena-wide AoE frog slam-like explosion. If this was Lord Frog, I wouldn't be so sad. However, because the arena is made up of layers, Bunny Prince can land and explode on a layer higher than you, making it nearly impossible to predict and jump over the attack without jump boost. Normally, you would just block this attack and it wouldn't even be a problem. However, this is not the fate I was assigned. I was assigned death. As much as I complain about any of these bosses or encounters, please do know that it's from the perspective of me not using weapons, and not the actual design of the boss or the mob, or the dungeon. Looking at you, B dungeon doors. I hate those doors on weaponless because I'm only using runes. However, with literally any other build, it's very easy to deal with it. Anywho, now that the disclaimers are over, let's go over the miserable experience that was the Bunny Prince fight. Blocking is such a fundamental mechanic in literally every single boss fights, so not having movement or block is practically a death sentence, and this fight is no different. Almost every single attack of Bunny Prince is blockable, other than the nuke in second phase. Because of this, the fight usually is a smooth one-sided fight on the side of the players. Remove that blocking mechanic, however, and now you've got a recipe for an uphill battle with a lot of tripping hazards. Fighting Bunny Prince without the ability to block is like trying to 1v1 LeBron James in basketball while you're in a wheelchair, blindfolded. Is LeBron James a basketball player? I think he is. The only moves that were a problem to me were the Slam Dunk Explosion, the Stomp Cannon combo, the Summon Mortar Fire, and the Nuke Ultimate Attack. And if you were keeping track, you'll notice that is every single move the Bunny Prince has. The entire fight is a problem for me. If you notice in the background, I'm already basically dead, but I've been living a little bit. That's because the massive slam has one upside to it. If you're on a higher elevation than it, you have a good chance of living. Only problem is, it's still a chance. With my first death under my belt, I realized I was about to experience some of the worst pains imaginable. Worse than my divorce back in 09. I'd experimented with the difference between Curse Flame and Dragator a bit, and Dragator armor would have actually been the better choice here. The only problem is I'm apparently very stupid, so that's a flaw I gotta get checked soon. The fight is quite simple. The only problem I had with it was the fact that I was dying more frequently than I first thought was optimal, and I seriously was worried the boss would just despawn on me. However, fireball after fireball, I slowly came to the conclusion that this was doable, and I was going to win. Jokes aside, this fight was pretty fun compared to the Queen Bumbles because I felt like I was actually fighting instead of playing a random bullet hell on a 20-minute timer. The fight itself took just under 8 minutes, which in comparison to Lord Frog and the Queen, this is a much smoother fight, even with the deaths. It's still a fight that I'd consider doing again if I got the crown, just for fun. And of course, the XP and Voxes would be great, but if I told people that, I would be called greedy. So without me blabbing on and on about greed and such, here's the rest of the Bunny Prince fight. Enjoy. With the felling of the Bunny Prince complete, the imbalance of the world grew ever more. The rampage of the Slayer was incomplete, however, as there were still targets on his list. The blistering heat was not a deterrent for his bloodshed, and soon, even the weakest of creatures will know nothing but hellish burning. The story of the Voxel Slayer will forever stain the world, and whether that's for better or for worse, only time will tell. Until his rampage is over, however, this is not just a story, but an ongoing assault. Now that the Bunny Prince was eliminated, all I had left on my list was the Khaki King, an incredibly scary Bastion. So the next up was Khaki King, the ruler of the desert. But first you have to have the materials to summon the Khaki King, so that's the next goal here. 100 pairs. That is an insane number. But there's no way I'm insane enough to farm that many in just one episode, right? Surely not. Okay, that's enough. Here's the rest of the farming brain blasted into your skull, in case you were curious. It took just over an hour to collect all 100 pairs, which was far much faster than it should have been, because of both a harvest moon and luck with big Khaki spawning. So, now that I had collected all 100 pairs in almost exactly an hour, it was time to take down the Khaki King. Khaki King has 4 moves. He can summon small little baby Khakis, slam the ground to cause massive waves of sand, bite with the Woof Scarf, and beam you with death lasers. So, same story as always. Here's the entire rest of the Khaki King fight. See you all soon. Alright, it's pairs time.
Power meet. Your king stands before you.
What? Oh my god. No. One more fireball. No, the gang! This is it. The end of the line. Whether I am victorious or fall here, it does not matter. It ends either way. A crumbling stone dungeon buried away under the Deadlands, filled with statues that fight to defend their home. 50,000 people used to live here, and now, it's a ghost town. All that stands before me is the all-powerful Bastion Guardian. I suppose it's time to tear down this place and stand victorious overall. Stand proud, Slayer. You're strong. After everything, the series comes down to a completion of the Bastion. And let me tell you right off the bat, I was dreading this since day one. I knew for a fact that when it came down to the Bastion, it was very likely I would lose. The Bastion has two major things the other dungeons lack, a time limit and healers. Because of these two mechanics, I knew the Bastion was just going to be absolutely awful. Before I dove headfirst into the Bastion though, I wanted to at least somewhat prepare myself. No matter what I did, I more than likely wouldn't be able to prepare myself for the absolute mental torture that was about to overwhelm me. I lose because the door didn't open. I should have just known. I should have known the door wasn't going to open when I killed everything. Of course. That's besides the point, however, as I spent my 2 brills that I had slowly obtained on a Turtle King's armor enchant and a Blazing armor enchant. The Blazing enchant actually got a little later than the Turtle King, and my first few days of Bastion attempts did not include the Blazing enchant, so keep that in mind. Now, the Bastion is not your average Voxlblade dungeon. It mixes absolutely miserable enemies with puzzles and a timer that will kill you if you don't get to the room fast enough. Along with this, the boss fight summons statues that either blow you up or heal the boss and give him damage reduction. In a normal run, this doesn't matter as much as I make it sound, but when you have 1 damage source every 9 seconds, its issues begin to bear its fangs. But before I jump into the Bastion, if you enjoy this video and others, consider subscribing. I upload weekly, and I'm hopefully going to begin consistently streaming soon for my next series, so if you don't want to miss out, it's free and you can always unsubscribe whenever you feel like it. The Bastion dungeon has 3 mobs that spawn in its rooms. The Stone Knight is a tanky, slow-moving melee mob that causes bleeding and a long stun on its hits. He's not a crazy problem alone, but when working alongside his allies, he becomes a very large issue. The Stone Cleric is a healing medium-range support mob that frequently heals all allies and itself in a large AoE. It also has a close-range swing melee attack, but that can prolong the cooldown of its heal ability if used correctly. The Stone Archer is a long-range sniper mob that fires a single arrow projectile that also winds up and explodes after a few seconds. Along with this, if you are within medium to close range, the Archer can fire off a low-stun quick-draw shot that does lowish damage, but can cancel wind-up, sprinting, and overall will ruin your day. The first time you get hit by it, it's quite annoying. However, after your 40th run, you'd rather chop off your legs than get hit by this move again. These 3 mobs, along with boulders, create an incredibly potent and all-around terrifying composition. They intend on defending the Bastion with their lives, and damn are they good at it! And on top of all of this, there's the Bastion Guardian himself. His melee moves do not matter for this video, as I will not be going into melee range. However, what does matter is his bonus ranged moves. Occasionally, the Bastion Guardian can summon either 2 or 4 units on the side or corner pedestals respectively. These summons can either be Stone Archer statues, which only use the explosive arrow, but a more powerful and much larger version than their normal mob counterpart. The other summon is a Stone Cleric statue, which provides the Bastion Guardian a stacking damage reduction based on the amount of clerics alive, as well as providing healing. So now that I've explained all this, surely it can't be that difficult, right? It sounds pretty easy. No matter how much I tell myself that I love a challenge, this singular dungeon in a random ROBLOX game nearly broke me. But just because I was almost broken, doesn't mean I gave up. I spent the next few days of my life running Bastion, attempt after attempt, and when I wasn't running Bastion, I was running the Frog Dungeon. And after a multitude of days, I got enough Brilliant Gems to use the Shrine of Regret. I wanted the bonus perk effectiveness from Curse Guild. With this, I would be able to get my damage higher than ever before, and I was finally taking after my Cursed Inferno build so long ago. Okay, after multiple days of farming, I never want to see a dungeon. I never want to see Brilliant Gems ever again. However, I think it's safe to say that was worth it. That is 500 damage in a single fireball. Keep in mind, previously, I was doing, I don't even know, like 180. Now it's 500. Also, to kind of stick with my quota of uploading weekly, I may or may not have posted my trailer way earlier than I wanted to make sure I can get this video out on time for you guys. So, as a little insider higher-end knowledge for you. Along with swapping to Curse Guild, I also grabbed a Mage Core and finished my Curse Flame set finally. Because I wasn't Monk anymore, my new weapon was now a Flame Dagger Blade and Cragstone Handle. Sound familiar? And with all of this, my damage was at an all-time high, and my confidence was finally back. I felt like I could take down the world. And so here it is. Run number like 70 bajillion at this point. Honestly, I lost track a while ago, and I didn't even record all of my attempts. Half of them I just assumed weren't going to go well because I already wasn't in a good mood, which is not something you should do as a content creator, by the way. If you want to have footage, record, because oh my god, do I regret it now. No! Fuck! No. This run had so much hope as I picked up the Alchemist set to make my health potions faster and better, as well as purchasing over 25 health pots. It felt so hopeless. Even with everything perfect, I still failed. This death was one small mistake in a 15-minute long Bastion Guardian fight. I drank 27 health pots and it didn't even matter in the end. So, I had a new plan. Changed my handle from the Crag Flame handle to the Cursed handle, giving me the Endless Despair perk, majorly increasing my damage but causing it to take a little longer for the full damage to come through. On top of all of this, I also ran the daily, as the daily forced all non-boss summon mobs to be a Stone Knights. And much like before, my confidence was barely intact, but I kept going. I genuinely felt like calling it here and making this episode an incredibly anticlimactic finale. But that's not the Hiren I know, and that's not the Hiren people want from me. I'm not just a failure who gives up easily. I don't back down and let some game walk all over me. Not this time. Not ever. I am unbreakable. I am unstoppable.
The enemy ascended beyond your control. Or was that all your intention? They have managed to demolish whatever we make, but you're failing to comprehend. If they can, they will easily put you home while you're blinded by your depression. I have gotten to the point where I'm just too afraid that you're going to meet your end. My sleeves echo out through the fire.
please kill. Yes! Yes! Oh my god, yes! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! It's over! 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 Oh my god! Oh my